Watch that bank, it's starting to get too steep. Your bank is too steep, bring it back.
We're ready to rotate. Glide slope is alive, so we'll be doing an ILS approach.
We want smooth adjustments to your
Parking
pitch.
brake on. Master battery on. Hydraulics. We're landing at runway 12. Elevation is 220 feet. Use right rudder to neutralize any yawing to the left. Our best angle of climb speed is 62 knots. Once we're slow enough, you can lower flaps if you intend to land. Once we're below 85 knots, we can begin to lower flaps. We're at the outer marker. Our best rate of climb speed is 74 knots. You've loaded no flight plan, so I'll rate your approach and landing based on the runway in front of us when on final approach, unless you tune nav 1 for an ILS approach. Below the glide slope, let's intersect it. If we encounter heavy turbulence, we need to be at or below maneuvering speed, and remember this will decrease as we burn 85 knots. We can gradually lower up to 30 degrees of flaps. Let's use pitch to control our airspeed and power to control our rate of descent. You're too fast for that flap setting, retract them. In this aircraft we normally turn with a 20-degree bank. And with a 20-degree bank, we want to begin our rollout from the turn about 20 degrees before reaching our desired heading. Let's get down to the glide slope. Don't overshoot the glide slope. APU start. APU generator on.
Whoa, let's take it easy.
You're too high. Not so much throttle. Line up with the center line. 100 feet. You need to set the auto brakes. Let's arm the spoilers. You lost the glide slope before you flared. You should use flaps for landing. I rate your landing at 59.79 points. Line up with the center line. Great flying so far. Let's keep up the good work. You have no glide slope signal unless you get one. We'll be doing a visual approach. Let's pull the carburetor heat on. Let's get down to the glide slope. Not so much throttle. Lower flaps if you intend to land. We can have 10 degrees of flaps below 110 knots. 1,000 feet. DME distance is 5 miles. We've lost an engine. I'll be rating your performance based on the current ILS signal unless you lose the signal. I'll be rating your performance based on the current ILS signal unless you lose the signal. 500 feet. We're landing at runway 32 left. Elevation is 668 feet. 400 feet. Let's use pitch to control our airspeed and power to control our rate of descent. You're too high. Line up with the center line. You'll want to touch down with the nose pitched up about 3 degrees. 300 feet. Approaching minimums. Remember to reduce power to idle. Runway 29. Current visibility is 62 miles. The wind is calm. 500 feet. We're landing at runway 06. Elevation is 695 feet. Remember you'll flare at about 10 to 15 feet, raising the nose about 10 degrees. Is 5 miles. Lower flaps if you intend to land. Yaw damper on. No smoking on. Fasten seatbelts on. We're passing the middle marker, 200 feet. Minimums. You're below the glide slope. Let's intersect it. At 10 to 15 feet, reduce power to idle and flare. Problems you need to work on. Check your logbook. 50, 40. Line up with the center line. 200 feet. I'll be rating your performance based on the current ILS signal unless you lose the signal. Let's switch the pitot heat off. Auto brakes off.
You're cruising with flaps down, let's get them up.
You're too high. Get lined up with the runway. Don't overshoot the glide slope. We're ready to rotate. Flight director off, please. Approach was 0% for the glide slope and 80% for the localizer. There's room for improvement. That flight contained rough turns, exceeding flap speeds. 50, 40, 30, 20 feet flare, 10. Touchdown, Kilo, Golf, Romeo, Bravo. Slow down, we need to be below 250 knots. We need the wing anti-ice on. We want engine anti-ice on if we're at or below 10 degrees Celsius. I rate your landing at 74.29 points. Approach was 20% for the glide slope and 60% for the localizer. We're landing at runway 26. Elevation is 5049 feet. Let's get the gear up. Okay, you're doing well. We're looking good. I rate your landing at 63.39 points. Let's look at leaning the mixture. Okay, so to do our run-up, we have to first select a place where we can stop facing into the wind, and we want to select a surface where we're not going to kick up a lot of debris. Remember, we must not exceed 250 knots until we're above 10,000 feet. Slow down, we need to be below 250 knots. And make sure that behind us we don't have any people, aircraft, animals, vehicles. We'll set the parking brake and run the throttle up to 1800 RPM. And then we'll turn the key so we can check the magnetos. We're looking for less than a 150 RPM drop on each one, with less than a 50 RPM difference between magnetos. Nice job. If you can keep this up, I'll be rating your flight with a perfect score. And we're going to turn the key to the left magneto, then the right magneto, and then back to the left magneto, and then back to both, at which point we're done and we can bring the throttle back to idle. Run-up complete. You have no glide slope signal unless you get one. We'll be doing a visual approach. Okay, so you're ready to take off. We want the strobe lights on. We want radios and avionics set. We want the autopilot off. Trim set for takeoff. And the wing flaps set at 0 or 10 degrees as necessary. We want the brakes off and the mixture set to full rich unless you're above 3,000 feet, in which case it should be lean to obtain maximum RPM. Okay, you've begun your descent to landing. Let's have the power set as desired. Magnetos on both, mixture set for smooth operation. That's full rich for idle power, otherwise let's lean above 3,000 feet. And below 3,000 feet go to full rich. And let's have the fuel selector valve set to both. We're going to put the throttle fully open, and we will be able to lift the nose wheel at 55 knots indicated airspeed. And let's climb between 70 to 80 knots indicated airspeed. Let's cruise between 2100 and 2700 RPM and lean the mixture to obtain maximum RPM above 3,000 feet. So fast. We're landing at runway 21. Elevation is 159 feet.